Well, we know it seems like whatever Caitlin Clark puts her mind to do, she can accomplish about anything, at least when it comes to two things, golfing and basketball.
Something unexpected happened at the Pro-Am event, and it sent the internet into a frenzy. Before Caitlin Clark even stepped onto the course, thousands of her fans had already packed the fences, the walkways, and every open spot just to watch her warm up.
Caitlin Clark, after going viral, hitting an unbelievable putt, by the way, Dave Portnoy reached out and gave her an invitation to his internet invitational.
Their excitement was electric, but not everyone appreciated the moment. The louder the cheers grew, the angrier her critics became. And within minutes, social media exploded with complaints, frustration, and wild accusations. What was supposed to be a simple golf appearance suddenly became another cultural flashpoint, and the reaction revealed far more than anyone expected today.
I mean, she might actually have to consider it as many views as this channel gets that Portnoy's got, because I was like, wow, my jaw dropped for the number of views this channel's got in 2 weeks.
Nobody expected the crowd to look like this. Hours before Caitlin Clark even arrived at the course, fans were already pouring in from every direction. Families carried folding chairs. College kids squeezed along the rope line. Older fans who had followed her Iowa journey held homemade signs. By the time the sun fully settled over the fairway, the crowd looked closer to a championship game than a golf warm-up. Volunteers kept glancing around, whispering to each other that they had never seen anything like it for a Pro-Am event.
A little content out of this. Nelly Corda right there, right here. Lexi Hull, Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham. They were all, Lexi and Sophie are caddying this whole thing, the celebrity caddy thing, and they're wearing their Indiana Fever schmucks. All right. There's a cleanup on aisle 4. Schmucks. And that's pretty cool. We've got Caitlin Clark right here.
What happened next was even more surprising. As the cameras scanned the crowd, it became clear this was not just a group of casual spectators. These were supporters who had traveled, waited, and rearranged their entire day just to catch a glimpse of Caitlin. Every small movement she made drew a reaction. A practice swing, a smile toward fans. Even a basic warm-up routine triggered waves of cheers echoing across the fairway.
And making the turn in this Wednesday Pro-Am, here is Caitlin at the 10th. Yeah.
Looks like she was able to put into work a little bit of what Jamie was telling her release that.
It felt like a pop culture moment disguised as a golf event, and everyone there knew they were witnessing something unusual. But with the overwhelming excitement came an entirely different reaction online. As footage spread across social platforms, critics immediately pounced. Some claimed it was over the top. Others insisted the attention was excessive. A few said the fans were acting like they were watching a celebrity rather than an athlete. Instead of acknowledging the massive support, the haters turned the moment into an instant battlefield, blaming the crowd for everything from overhyping her to overshadowing other athletes.
I came over here to see the views on this joker. What? 2.1 million views in 2 days. 2.8 million views 6 days ago. 9 days ago, 3.3 million views. 4.4 million views 13 days ago. 5.9 million views 2 weeks ago. What?
Yet their frustration only made the fan base louder. Clips of people cheering along the rope line went viral within minutes. Photos of the enormous crowd started trending on sports pages. Even neutral golf fans were stunned by the turnout. It was a clear message. Whether her critics like it or not, Caitlin Clark brings energy, attention, and excitement wherever she goes. And on this day, the Pro-Am turned into proof that her influence extends far beyond basketball, setting the stage for an even bigger confrontation brewing just ahead.
Caitlin doesn't have to be in this thing, obviously. But we're talking 6, 10 million, 13, blah, blah, blah. 16 million views in the course of 2 weeks. Guys, I'm here to tell you, That's a hell of a lot of views on YouTube. A lot of views. All right? A lot of views. Like during the WNBA season, that would be, if Caitlin Clark was playing, that would be like 4 months worth of views for this channel in 2 weeks.
As more videos of the massive crowd began circulating, something shifted online. What started as clips of excited fans quickly turned into a wave of irritation from Caitlin Clark's harshest critics. It didn't take long for the haters to twist the entire moment into something negative. Instead of acknowledging how impressive it was to see thousands of people show up early for a golf event, they made it a problem. They claimed the crowd was doing too much. They insisted the attention was overblown. Some even tried to frame the turnout as proof that fans were obsessed or out of control, ignoring the simple reality that Caitlin has earned this kind of support. What triggered them wasn't the golf. It wasn't the event itself. It was the undeniable reminder that Caitlin Clark's popularity is real, massive, and only getting stronger. Every angle of the crowd showed her impact stretching far beyond basketball, and that reality made her detractors uncomfortable. They couldn't believe that during a Pro-Am weekday event, people chose to stand under the sun just to watch her warm up. It clashed with their narrative that her success was exaggerated, and the crowd exposed how untrue that was. Meanwhile, the reactions from fans on the ground told a completely different story. They were laughing, cheering, and enjoying every moment. They were excited to see her break out of her usual environment and step into something new. The more the haters tried to downplay it, the more the fan base embraced the energy. Several clips showed kids wearing her jersey while holding tiny golf clubs. Others captured parents explaining how cool it was to watch an athlete cross over into another sport. Everyone there understood they were witnessing a moment that felt fun, lighthearted, and refreshing. But online critics weren't done. They started comparing her to other athletes at the event, claiming her presence was overshadowing the field. They ignored that she was invited, promoted, and welcomed by the organizers. They ignored that. The fans simply followed her because they enjoy watching her compete at anything. And most importantly, they ignored that the Pro-Am gained more attention in one morning than it usually gets in an entire year. This frustration set the stage for an even bigger backlash coming next, and it revealed exactly why her popularity rattles so many people. Once the first wave of complaints started rolling in, the reaction snowballed. Haters who had stayed quiet for weeks suddenly resurfaced, each trying to outdo the other with dramatic opinions about why Caitlin Clark shouldn't be getting this much attention. Sports forums, comment sections, and basketball pages filled up with the same frustrated narrative. According to them, a crowd showing up for a young star was somehow a threat. They acted like fans cheering at a golf event, violated an unwritten rule of who deserves support and who doesn't. Instead of acknowledging the moment for what it was, they turned it into another battleground. One clip in particular became the center of the meltdown. It showed Caitlin simply walking toward the tee box while a huge wave of fans cheered as if she were stepping into a championship arena. The clip went viral instantly, but instead of celebrating the fun energy, her critics erupted. They said the crowd was ridiculous. They claimed no athlete should pull that kind of attention at a Pro-Am. They even tried to paint the fans as delusional, ignoring how common it is for popular athletes to draw massive cross-sport support. It wasn't logic fueling their frustration. It was discomfort meanwhile. Fans jumped in to defend the moment, pushing back at every angle. They explained that Caitlin brings new audiences wherever she goes. They reminded critics that multiple Pro-Am events have featured celebrities, and no one ever complained when other stars attracted attention. They even pointed out that her presence boosted viewership, engagement, and social media impressions for the event. In other words, she helped the tournament more than it helped her. But the haters couldn't let go. They started searching for reasons to undermine everything she did that day. They criticized her swing, her walk, her posture, even the way she smiled at fans. Their frustration wasn't about golf at all. It was about visibility. Every new angle of the crowd highlighted how powerful her fan base has become in such a short time, and that reality made critics lose. Whatever composure they had left, what none of them realized was that their anger only amplified the moment. The more they complained, the more the video spread. The bigger the meltdown grew, the more people who weren't even golf fans clicked in to see what all the noise was about. And that attention set off the next chain reaction, one the haters definitely wasn't ready for. While haters were busy unraveling online, Caitlin Clark was just doing what she always does. She stepped onto the course with calm confidence, locked into the moment, and focused on enjoying the experience. What none of her critics expected was how effortlessly she would end up stealing the entire show. Even before she hit her first major putt, the crowd was buzzing, and cameras from every angle were already rolling. Caitlin didn't force anything. She didn't try to create a highlight. She simply played, smiled, laughed with fans, and let the day unfold naturally. Then came the moment that changed the entire energy of the event. Caitlin lined up for a long-range putt that most amateurs wouldn't even attempt with confidence. The crowd fell quiet. The wind clipped across the green. Even the announcers lowered their voices as she took a steady breath and pushed the ball toward the target. At first, the trajectory looked impossible. The distance, the curve, the slope, everything pointed to a routine miss. But as the ball kept rolling, then turning, then drifting exactly where it needed to go, the crowd erupted into cheers that echoed across the course. It was a clean, smooth, picture-perfect putt. The kind that instantly goes viral because it feels unreal on the first watch and even crazier on the second. Fans near the green began laughing and clapping, shouting her name as she tried to fight back an embarrassed smile. Meanwhile, cameras captured every moment, from her calm wind-up to her stunned reaction as the ball dropped into the cup like it was scripted within minutes. Social media exploded again, but this time it wasn't frustration driving the conversation. It was pure shock. People were replaying the putt again and again. Commentators were breaking it down like a game-winning shot. Even neutral sports fans who had tuned in casually suddenly became invested in the event. Caitlin had managed to turn a simple Pro-Am appearance into a must-watch highlight reel moment. And for her haters, this viral play was gasoline on the fire. They had already been overwhelmed by the size of the crowd, but now, faced with undeniable talent and another viral clip, their frustration only escalated. Their attempts to downplay her impact had officially failed, and what happened next pushed them completely over the edge. The viral putt didn't just grab attention, it flipped the entire atmosphere of the event. Moments after the clip began circulating, the Pro-Am transformed from a casual weekday tournament into the internet's most unexpected trending topic. Golf fans, basketball fans, and even people who barely follow sports were suddenly glued to the footage. And that shift sent Caitlin Clark's critics into full panic mode. What frustrated them earlier was the crowd size. What frustrated them now was the spotlight. They watched the attention drift away from every other player, every other celebrity, and every other storyline, landing directly on Caitlin with almost magnetic force. This wasn't supposed to happen, according to her critics. They had spent months insisting her popularity was exaggerated. They claimed she only went viral because of basketball. They said her fan base wouldn't follow her outside her sport. Yet here she was, in a completely different environment, pulling bigger engagement than the actual Pro-Am broadcast. The more they compared her numbers to other athletes, the more irritated they became. And instead of admitting she had the star power to captivate any crowd, they tried to spin the attention into a problem. Online threads became chaos. Some haters accused fans of ruining the event, even though organizers loved the buzz. Others complained that the cameras were showing her too much, ignoring the fact that viewers kept requesting more footage. A few even suggested her putt was lucky, as if going viral somehow diminished her skill. Their arguments weren't consistent. They weren't logical. They were emotional reactions to the reality they couldn't escape. Caitlin Clark had once again taken over a moment simply by existing in it. Meanwhile, her fans kept the positive energy rolling. They reposted highlights. They made edits. They flooded comment sections with supportive messages. They celebrated her crossover appeal and the excitement she brought to the event. They were proud to see her thriving in a new setting, and they weren't afraid to show it. But the louder the fans became, the more desperate the haters grew. They began searching for anything at all to shift the narrative back in their favor. And that desperation led them to target not just her putt, not just the crowd, but the entire atmosphere surrounding her appearance. Their next move would reveal just how deeply her rising popularity rattled them. With the spotlight locked on Caitlin, her critics shifted tactics. If they couldn't downplay the crowd and couldn't dismiss the viral putt, They would attack the atmosphere around her instead. Suddenly, every cheerful moment at the event became fuel for their complaints. Clips of fans laughing along the rope line were labeled cringe. Videos of kids waving to her were called overboard. Even friendly interactions between Caitlyn and other players were twisted into claims that she was stealing the show or making it all about herself, even though she never once sought the extra attention. The truth was simple. The energy around Caitlyn Clark was natural, positive, and infectious. She didn't force the crowd to show up early. She didn't ask for cameras to follow her. She didn't orchestrate the cheers. People wanted to see her. People enjoyed watching her play. People had fun. And that joy alone seemed to irritate her critics. They weren't reacting to anything she did wrong. They were reacting to the fact that she did everything right. One moment in particular set them off even more. A clip showed Caitlyn walking with Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham, all smiling and joking around like they were on a reality show instead of a golf course. Fans loved it. The chemistry, the laughter, the good vibes, it made the event feel lively and authentic. But for the haters, it was just another excuse to lash out. They claimed the trio was acting childish, ignoring that this was a pro-am, not a championship. They said Caitlyn was being treated like royalty, refusing to accept that public affection isn't something you can manufacture. It happens when people genuinely enjoy someone. The jealousy became impossible to ignore. Every positive moment generated twice as many bitter comments. Every highlight brought another wave of attempts to rewrite the narrative. They complained louder, typed faster, and argued harder. But none of it changed reality. The joy surrounding Caitlyn only intensified. Fans kept arriving. Clips kept trending. Even neutral viewers admitted the event had become unexpectedly entertaining because of her presence and as the divide between the supporters and the critics grew wider. The tension built toward the next big moment, one that would expose exactly why Caitlyn Clark's popularity scares her haters more than they want to admit. As the Pro-Am rolled on, the conversation around Caitlyn Clark reached a breaking point. What started as mild irritation from her critics had grown into a full-blown meltdown, and one moment in particular made the truth impossible to ignore. A new clip surfaced, showing the massive crowd erupting as Caitlyn walked toward another tee box. Not swinging, not sinking a long putt, just walking. The cheers were instant, loud, and genuine. And that simple reaction, fans celebrating her presence, sent her detractors into absolute chaos. They couldn't rationalize it. They couldn't explain it away. They couldn't pretend it wasn't happening. They had spent months insisting that Caitlyn Clark's popularity was manufactured or media-driven. Yet here she was, in a completely different sport, generating more noise and excitement than half the athletes playing their actual profession. The clip wasn't dramatic. It wasn't flashy. But that's exactly why it hurt her critics the most. It proved the support wasn't orchestrated. It wasn't forced. It wasn't hype created by networks. It was real, and real popularity terrifies people who want control of the narrative. In the comment sections under the video, fans celebrated the moment as pure, wholesome, and deserved. But the haters spiraled deeper. They accused the crowd of being obsessed. They claimed the cheers were embarrassing. Some even tried to argue that people were only reacting because cameras were rolling. Ignoring the fact that fans had been cheering long before the broadcast even started, every excuse they offered fell apart as soon as someone replied with a clip showing the same enthusiasm from a different angle. Meanwhile, analysts and sports personalities began chiming in. Some noted how rare it was for a single athlete to draw cross-sport crowds like this. Others pointed out how much excitement Caitlyn brings simply by being herself. A few even joked that she brought more energy to the golf course in one day than some athletes bring during entire seasons. Their commentary only deepened the frustration on the other side. This moment, fans cheering her. Hoopexpress exposed the root of the issue. Her critics weren't upset about golf. They weren't upset about the crowd. They weren't upset about the spotlight. They were upset because Caitlyn Clark represents something they can't diminish: genuine star power. And every cheer from those thousands of fans proved that her influence is only growing, whether her haters like it or not. But the final blow came later, when an unexpected invite dropped, one that took the entire conversation from frustration to full panic. Just when the energy around the Pro-Am seemed like it couldn't get any louder, Caitlyn Clark's day took another turn that none of her critics saw coming. Shortly after her viral putt began dominating every feed, an unexpected post went live. Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool and creator of one of the most watched golf events on the internet, publicly extended an official invitation for Caitlin to join the 2026 Internet Invitational. The moment the announcement dropped, comment sections exploded all over again. Her fans celebrated, golf influencers reacted with shock, and sports pages quickly scrambled to cover the story. But for her haters, this was their worst-case scenario. The idea of Caitlin crossing over into another massive platform, especially one that pulls millions of views per episode, was too much for them to handle. They had spent the entire day insisting her presence at the Pro-Am didn't matter. Yet, a figure as influential as Portnoy had just made it clear she mattered more than they ever wanted to admit. His invitational racks up staggering numbers, and the prospect of Caitlin adding her own star power terrified her critics. They knew that if she accepted, she wouldn't just bring attention, she would dominate it. Immediately, the excuses started pouring in. Haters insisted Portnoy only invited her for clout, ignoring that the event already racks up millions of views without her. Others claimed she would ruin the vibe, as if attracting new audiences somehow harmed the experience. Some even argued she wasn't a real golfer, pretending the Invitational was a professional championship instead of a highly entertaining crossover event. Their frustration wasn't about golf etiquette, it was about influence. This invite confirmed what they'd been trying to deny. Caitlin Clark is a draw everywhere she goes. Meanwhile, mainstream sports accounts highlighted how significant the moment was. Crossing into golf wasn't just a fun cameo, it showed her cultural reach, extending far beyond basketball. She became the centerpiece of the entire event without trying, and now she was being welcomed into one of the internet's biggest golf platforms. Her fans celebrated the opportunity, already imagining the viral clips that could come from it. By the end of the day, it was obvious that Caitlin had done something rare. She stepped into a new sport, created unforgettable moments, united fans, and completely dismantled the narratives her critics had spent months building. And with Portnoy's invite now in play, the tension between her massive support and her loudest haters has reached a level that guarantees this story is far from over. What happened at the Pro-Am was supposed to be simple, calm, and forgettable. Instead, Caitlin Clark turned it into one of the most talked-about sports moments of the week without even trying. Her fans showed up in overwhelming numbers, her critics melted down in real time, and her talent created another viral clip that traveled far beyond basketball circles. The invite from Dave Portnoy sealed the moment as something bigger than a golf event. It proved her influence is real, widespread, and growing faster than anyone expected. And whether her haters admit it or not, Caitlin Clark isn't slowing down.